Welcome back, my friends. Thanks again for joining us for another episode as we continue studying through the Word of God together. We are in the book of Genesis. We're starting chapter 49. Actually, we're just going to take a small tidbit of chapter 49 and look at that today. And then we will jump into chapter 50 tomorrow. In an episode or two, we'll be done with the book of Genesis. We're going to work our way into another book here in just a couple of episodes. I encourage you again, if you want to go back to the YouTube channel or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can go back and catch all of this in one playlist, in one podcast format. And you get all of Genesis. I'm pretty sure it's going to be just around 98 to 99 episodes, so plenty of content there. But if you just want to slow walk through a book of the Bible, this is a great way to do it. Our episodes are about 10 to 12 minutes a piece is what we shoot for. Today we're going to do something different. Normally I would start at the beginning of a chapter, work our way through. I'm not going to do that this time. Here's what I want us to get as we look at this. This chapter, Jacob, also renamed Israel, is walking through the 12 heads, the 12 tribes, ultimately who would be the 12 tribes of Israel, and he is blessing them, or really kind of prophesying. One person described it as blessing, but some of these things that he says to them are not blessing format, if we're being honest. He's really prophesying. He's talking about their future. He's talking about their strengths and weaknesses, and he says, based upon this strength, this is going to be your future. Two of them, he said, they're going to have struggles due to the fact that their greatest battle is warfare. They kill too easily. One, due to a decision he made, would lose the freedom of a lot of the benefits that come from being the oldest. And so there's really the prophecy, the future of the nation, as these are his 12 sons. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on one specific son. And I do this on purpose, and it's intriguing. It's going to be pretty, if those of you catch on to this, it'll be pretty quick why in a moment. But this is the son Judah. And if you remember, when we went back at the beginning, and we were, or not the beginning, but a little while back, we were walking through the story of Joseph. And as you walk through the story of Joseph, you got the dreams, you got Joseph sold into slavery, and then there's just kind of this gap, this random gap of time where one of Jacob's sons really kind of went off the rails. And you're going to wonder, why would God even place that information into this passage? He doesn't talk about the other brothers, he just talks about Judah. When we mentioned then, because Judah is a massive part of the prophecy and also a massive part of the lineage of David, which in a moment we'll explain why that is important if you don't already know. So let's go ahead and read a little bit in Genesis 49. We're going to be in verse 8 as we look through this. It says this, Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. Now, before we get to verse 9, verse 8, he talks about the position that Judah would have. Again, this is a very strange position. He's not the oldest. He's not even the second oldest, not the youngest. You would think Joseph being younger. Jacob didn't work that way. Jacob wasn't working. He'd been given by God what was going to happen. He was stating the future, prophesying the future and how it would affect everybody. And so you've got Judah starting off that he would be the ruler of the tribes of Israel. He would be the head. His lineage would be the head of the tribes of Israel. Then he goes in verse 9, Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion, as a lioness who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him. And to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Now you look at this and you say, really all of the people of the children of Israel to obey Judah, and this is where you have to understand that really what you're getting here, you're getting history, you're getting a little bit of the future of Judah, but you're actually getting prophecy, and more than just Judah, you're getting the prophecy. You have to understand, we know that King David would be coming out of one of the tribes of Israel. All of those who would be Jewish by descent are from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. They would descend back to one of these brothers as the kind of their descendants, as their ancestry. So when you go to King David, you go to Solomon, you go to all of those in that lineage, you're going to find that you go back to, they came out of the line of Judah. Again, why is that important? Because if you take a moment and you step further, you're going to find that David was in the lineage of Jesus, or was one of the great-grandfathers of Jesus. And then out of all of that, you get the history that Jesus comes. Now, why? Because then you go to, I want to say it's Revelation 5, but it references the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Now, who is this lion? And that lion is referencing Jesus. So when he describes Judah and he uses the picture of the lion and all of that, he's referencing the ultimate descendant of Judah. And the ultimate descendant of Judah is Jesus. And that's why he says in verse 10, the scepter, even in verse 9, he talks about the lion and who dares rouse him. Verse 10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah or Judah's house, his descendants, nor ruler's staff will between the feet until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. He wasn't referencing Judah, he's referencing descendants. And by the way, a lot of what you're seeing, if you were to read all the chapter, is it's not just them, it's the descendants, it's their lineage. How are they going to line up in the nation of Israel? And so you see in this that he is referencing through Judah that ultimately Judah would be, he is the head, and ultimately coming out of it would be the Messiah. Now, a lot of times you look at this and say, okay, you can see why is this important for me to learn? First of all, there's several things, and I will say the first one I would come to and say, I think it's important that we see that the Old and New Testament work together. Well, I am a belief that the church does not replace Israel. I do not believe in what many call replacement theology, whatever term a lot of them use. I am not in belief of that. I believe that the promises to Israel are still to Israel, and they're still to come. The promises that have yet to be fulfilled. And then in this gap of time, there is the church. God is using it as his chosen group of people for this time, while he waits to turn back his attention to the nation of Israel. And I do believe that is still present. So there are things in the Old Testament that you will read that were specifically for Israel that do not apply to us today. But then some say, well, because of that we ignore the Old Testament. I think that is massively foolish. And we could spend a lot of time explaining why that is wrong. Let me just give you, in the context of the passage in front of us today, why I believe that is it. When you see, what you really get is, and from Genesis, the first 2 chapters of Genesis, you get God's creation, then you get man's choice to sin. And from man's choice to sin, we have what the Bible calls condemnation, or the doctrine of condemnation. Because of our sin, we deserve hell. In the Old Testament, the answer was sacrifices and looking forward to Jesus on the cross. Now, as we in the New Testament age, we look back to Jesus on the cross. And what you have is you have one redemptive narrative. You have the fall of man, and from that point on, the narrative points to Jesus. I believe all of the Bible points to Jesus. Now, I say that because I believe this passage we're looking at proves my point. It's another reason for why I believe that. As you look at Judah, it's not just Judah, it's the long term. It's how Genesis connects all the way to Jesus. And we've seen in this study more than once, Genesis bringing in Jesus or connecting to Jesus. But here's a very specific connection from the nation of Israel down. Now, why is that important? If you go back and study out the history and the lineage of the Messiah, you're going to find this. And so it's another proof that Jesus was the Messiah. Jesus, shall we say, is the Messiah. He is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He is the fulfillment of what Jacob is saying here. And it gives us the prophecy, it gives us future, but it's another way, just in history and in prophecy and studying Old Testament, to remind us that Jesus is more than just a religious figure. He's more than a political figure. Jesus is the Messiah. He is the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. And this is just one of the many, many that point to Jesus as the Messiah. And it's an intriguing thing to study the Old Testament and know how it points so closely and so far ahead to the person that we follow, to one who are we striving to create disciples and to follow, and to the church is based around. Well, I hope that's an encouragement to help. As we look at Scripture, sometimes you wonder, especially when you get to the end of these and you're seeing history and things like that, you wonder, what's the point? Why are we even looking at this? And I hope we can look at this and realize that what we're seeing is we're saying that God's plan is seen all the way through the Bible. And it doesn't always make sense to us. It's not always easy to see it. But there is a plan. And because of that, we can know that God is coming. His plan will be fulfilled. And it also tells us that what we're dealing with today, God knows. We're not working with somebody who is surprised or randomly doing this. He knows what he's doing. And we hold to that strength. We hold to his sovereignty when we see things like this. Well, we do appreciate the privilege you've given to us. Stick with us as we're almost done with the book of Genesis, and then we'll jump into a brand new book here in just a couple of days. We do appreciate the time you've given us and hope you have a great rest of your day.